Greetings and welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. To our members, friends, and everyone joining us in our virtual congregation on YouTube today. Whoever you are, wherever you live, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. I'm the Reverend Robin Landerman Zucker, the minister of this congregation, and I'll be hosting our virtual worship today with our music director, Gabriel Hernandez, with worship associate, Nancy Paxton, and with a soundtrack provided by our wonderful pianist, Rebecca Prizznick. If you'd like to participate more fully in this virtual service, please pause the video and go to our website, beaconuu.com, where you can download an order of service with unison readings and hymn lyrics for today, April 19th, 2020. This congregation is spiritually open and intentionally inclusive. Our members and friends bring many interests, theologies, and viewpoints. Here, we trust you will find a common desire for meaningful community and spiritual growth and for relevant religious exploration. Membership in our congregation is open to anyone who chooses to walk with us in spirit and search for truth and love openly and with an accepting heart. As I light the chalice, the symbol of our free faith, please light your own chalice at home and recite the unison words found in your order of service. We light this chalice with a flame that draws us together. With this flame, we cut through the darkness of isolation and are warmed by the fires of our inner connection. We are Beacon, always connected. And now Nancy has some opening words for us. Nancy?
I will begin by reading a poem by Portia Nelson. It's called Autobiography in 5 Chapters. 1. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it. It is there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. 5. I walk down another street. End of poem.
Thank you, Nancy. Gabe, would you like to lead us into singing?
If you'll join me in body or spirit as we sing Just as Long as I Have Breath. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. And now, if you'll join me in reciting our mission and covenant. The mission of Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation is to be a welcoming community that embraces diverse thought, belief, and builds a just, peaceful, and compassionate world. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in kindness. Thus do we covenant. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Now's the time in our service when we invite members of our congregation, which is a much larger group at this point, to offer a personal joy or sorrow in the sportive fellowship of our community. If you would like me to share a joy or sorrow in one of these virtual services, please email it to me by Thursday at noon to minister@beaconuu.com. There are many joys and sorrows in our community, none that were specifically shared with me this week, but there is worry everywhere about when our lives will start to normalize again, concern about family members who may have the coronavirus or may be facing other medical or life challenges, the people who are having difficulty with their finances because of work, and just a general sense of uncertainty. So I have some stones here, and I will put some in for the many people, both in our community and throughout the world, who are feeling these pressures and experiencing both joys and sorrows as we are in such an unusual time. Of course, one, as I always put one in for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken because they are too tender or too private to share. Let us remember that everyone is fighting their own private battle. We know not what it is, but because we're human, we know it to be true. So let us be kind, compassionate, flexible, and forgiving with one another. Now I invite you to uncross your arms if you have them crossed, and uncross your legs and put down what you might be holding, and just come into a relaxed physical state so that you can do some intentional breathing. And it's very simple. Breathing is your portable first aid, emotional and spiritual first aid. Sometimes we don't even know we're holding our breath. So I invite you to breathe in 4 beats through your nose slowly, and then 4 beats out through your mouth in a kind of steady stream. Close your eyes and see if you can use your breath to create spaciousness and relaxation, starting at the top of your head, the crown, and moving down to your feet. So let's just breathe. When you feel as if you are not breathing, stop and feel, breathe, and allow. While you breathe, I offer these words inspired by Buddhism from a blog called Tiny Buddha. Just breathe. Take in these words. Our minds are powerful. Our thoughts are powerful. Our love is powerful. Let us choose to focus on the good, appreciate who we are, and share our love freely. Let us remember that we are enough. Let us embrace our value and know that we belong. Let us remember that our imperfections are the most lovable part of us. Can we practice loving ourselves in this way today? Every beautiful journey and every inspiring transformation begins with an intention and moves in the direction of where you hope to be. I wish you ease in loving and freedom in being just who you are. Be human, be perfectly imperfect, be you, just be. Let's be silent together.
"'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, to be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right."
And now Nancy has a reading for us.
The reading is called "The Idiocy of Flight" by the Reverend Jane Jepka. A well-known poem by Robert Graves speaks of butterflies, their honest idiocy of flight, lurching here and there by guess and by God, and hope and hopelessness. Any number of quotations sound this way, and so I think do we, but privately. Publicly, we speak the civilized language of human beings who have things under control. No idiocy, no lurching. The world sees that we function well and happily. Other people believe it, and even we begin to believe it. Life moves forward as always. Privately, though, we experience long stretches of turbulence and the occasional sudden downdraft. So many in our church feel alone when things go poorly at home, when they feel their age, whatever it is, or when they grieve. So many people feel alone in their money worries or career problems. Awful life situations seem to set us apart from each other. Normal lives include those awful parts. They don't always show from the outside. It's hard to believe any other folks at coffee hour are feeling the same kinds of screaming pain, or emptiness, or entrapment, or panic, or precariousness, or low-grade worry. Lives, even lives well lived, don't stay in place for long. At least that's how it seems from the peculiar vantage point of the minister's study. It's a help, I think, to accept the idiocy of flight, the butterfly flight pattern, so firmly implanted in the human mind and heart. Let the lurching then be no surprise, and know we're all up there, flying every which way together.
Our musical interlude this week comes from the musical Finding Neverland. It is titled All That Matters Now. There are days when I feel so afraid I can hardly remember to breathe. When reality crashes in wave after wave, pulling me further beneath. So what's the point of planning for a future, if it all can be stolen away? It's about all I can do to hold on and survive when the colors have faded to gray. But my children need so much more from me, and they've given me the strength to go on, whatever may come, 'cause all that matters now is where I go from here. There's an easier way if I live for today. The beating of my heart is all that matters. The beating of my heart is all that, the beating of my heart is all that matters.
Our sermon today is entitled Flunking Sainthood. One of my greatest pleasures in visiting Kripalu, the Divine Center for Yoga and Health in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, is the gift shop. The seductive scents of ginger and lavender, sage and patchouli waft out into the hallway, variably grabbing me by the scruff of my neck and dragging me into this wondrous arcade of kirtan chant CDs, books and bells, mats and mandala, coloring books, meditation cushions, organic chocolates, chakra jewelry, and the cutest darn yoga outfits this side of Mumbai. Now, after many excursions to this shop and other such emporia, from here to Timbuktu and back, I am now surrounded at my desk by a treasure trove of spiritual tchotchkes, and that's a Yiddish knick-knack, by the way. Here's a sampling from my stash. A finger labyrinth, smudge sticks and Zentangle pens, angel cards, a handmade mala of prayer beads, a blessing stone, scribbled in journals that actually have more blank pages than full pages, a trio of quartz crystals, and a stolen lava rock from Mount Etna. Don't tell anyone. Then there's a re-glued mini statue of the goddess of compassion, Kuan Yin. She is the bodhisattva, an enlightened being that chooses to stay on earth, helping us bumbling humans. So I am fairly certain she isn't going to mind the glue. Now, to be sure, all this ephemera is lovely to behold as I write sermons or I surf Facebook when I'm supposed to be writing sermons. See how regular I am? But so far, none of it has made me more saintly. The tchotchkes do remind me, however, that I sincerely want to grow spiritually, and that I may even be able to do that without all of these slightly pretentious props taunting my over-expectant soul. Given that, you can understand how I found myself giggling and nodding my way through Jana Reiss's witty and insightful memoir entitled Flunking Sainthood. Over the course of a year, Reiss, who's a Christian, commits herself fully to one spiritual practice per month and reports on the results, which are sometimes hilarious, sometimes profound, and often quite relatable. I doubt this would have been a very appealing book if Reiss had not been flummoxed by sustaining such saintly endeavors as observing an Orthodox Sabbath, fasting, offering hospitality, or voluntary simplicity. She is our modern day every woman in the muddy trenches of spiritual growth. Yesterday, April 18th, was my birthday. And like Reiss, as I get older, my list of ways to excel gets less, not more specific. I'm no longer interested in running the equivalent of the 3-minute mile as I go about my daily rounds. Rather, I prefer to just briskly walk the race as a decent human being. Undoubtedly, I might poop out along the way occasionally and thumb a ride on the sag wagon. And unless I'm striving for sainthood, which I'm not, my goal reflects not only reality, but self-care. I want to be kinder to myself and to others, more clear-headed and healthy. I want to sustain something sturdier than thin or easily broken ties, to cultivate eulogy virtues rather than accumulate more resume achievements. I'd like to accept more and gripe less. And in getting there, I suppose I want to flunk or fail better, which is exactly what Reiss discovers along the way too. How about you? Would you be willing to reframe your own personal growth, not as a contest to win, but as an exercise in failing better, in flunking sainthood on purpose? Reiss is prepared to thrust herself into some challenging and unfamiliar terrain over the course of her experiment. Even so, as she embarks in January, she declares that she is not planning to join a convent, wheedle a pope, or contract tuberculosis, which apparently are some of the methods other people have used to achieve sainthood. She goes on to clarify that she will not be climbing to the top of a pole and living there, which is what Simeon the Stylite did for 37 years, actually strapping himself to the pole so he wouldn't topple over. Reiss writes, "I have zero interest in this. My bed is just fine." Likewise, she will not allow herself to be devoured by lions like the early Christian martyr Felicitas. And to be on the safe side, she plans to avoid zoos and safaris. Reiss adamantly refuses to pluck out her own eyes for God, as St. Lucia did, nor will she strip naked and parade around the town square in the spirit of St. Francis. Reiss amusingly notes that this took place in Europe, after all, where they also have nude beaches. However, she is game for trying some worthwhile disciplines that I mentioned earlier, along with centering prayer, vegetarianism, generosity, scripture reading, gratitude, and the spiritual practice of housekeeping. Because Reiss is, as I said, your average human, she shamelessly chooses February as the month for fasting because it has the fewest days. Attempting to abstain from food between sunup and sundown in the spirit of Ramadan proves to be difficult and confusing. The spiritual bang of getting closer to God through fasting is absolutely trumped by her glee that she's losing weight, even though she is, in her words, eating whatever she wants, including Girl Scout cookies, for 13 out of 24 hours a day. Fasting is fabulous, she writes, as her jeans slip off her now slimmer hips. I should write a best-selling diet book. Yet the hunger pangs during the day remind her to focus within, and she can and does, writing, "There are occasional glimmers of quiet elation and tranquility, and I am more astonished than anyone." During June, her month of dedicated centering prayer, she chooses a sacred phrase, "Peace be still." But her distracted monkey mind and her calmer spiritual mind engage in a perpetual smackdown for dominance. And she concludes, I am simply not getting along with centering prayer. In the end, she realizes, though, that the only thing she can do wrong is to get up and walk out. So she stays, and she keeps trying, and she keeps flunking. And as she puts it, peace, be still, be still, be still. Lord have mercy, hear my prayer, please, peace, be still. Ever onward, Reiss devotes July to observing an Orthodox Jewish Sabbath weekly, with its 39 prohibitions, such as refraining from being a creator of any type, which would include acts as mundane as boiling an egg, because in her words, creation is God's job, and he rested for a day too. Thank you very much. In addition to learning how to prepare a dish called coolant, which cooks on low, it's a meat dish that cooks on low for 24 hours, and the importance of pre-ripping a day's worth of toilet paper, because you're not allowed to do that, that's work. Reiss makes the worthwhile spiritual discovery that complete rest from being a doer is refreshing and joyful and sane. One particular Saturday, her daughter asks her to play Monopoly, and although it's unkosher to handle money on the Sabbath, Reiss rationalizes that when the money is pastel pink, blue, and yellow, she's not going to worry about it. She doesn't think God's going to worry about it either. And after an afternoon of laughter, she recalls, I flunked sainthood again, but it was a very good Sabbath. In the gratitude chapter, our saint in training realizes that her appreciation of puppies and cupcakes isn't going to heal sick children or end poverty, racism, or homophobia, but that truly experiencing bone-deep gratitude might move her to take action and make a real difference. Then there's an amusing anecdote from her October romp in vegetarianism about an Amish chicken. And you can ask me about that sometime, maybe in social hour. Notably, there's a touching, searing retelling of an encounter during her December generosity practice when she wonders whether Jesus might have shown up in her life as a foul-mouthed, reindeer sweater-wearing homeless woman with a crush on Hillary Clinton. Reiss worries about cheap grace, her own. And then, for a flash, for an instant, she recalls, my charity wasn't charity. It was connection. I've made a connection outside of my clean little world. As you can imagine, there are more stories and examples in this terrific book than we have time for in one sermon. But the takeaway is clear enough, isn't it? An authentic life involves us non-saintly humans who are by definition flawed. Plato put forth the philosophy that only the idea of something is perfect, that its realization, its expression in worldly terms is always a mere shadow of that perfection. And yet we strive towards it, when excellence or even failing better would be more worthwhile goals. America has fed on the rags to riches narrative for centuries. The Horatio Alger story, attainable by all who strive hard enough and tug on their bootstraps with the requisite gusto and grit. I'd argue that this was a uniquely Western phenomenon, but we only look at what's developed in China or South Korea or India to realize it's not. You have to go pretty far off the grid to find a society on this planet not driven by productivity, achievement, and the accumulation of wealth. Since last month, when we were all asked to shelter in place and stay home, some of my colleagues and friends on social media have admitted that they don't feel productive enough in their more limited lockdown mode. Even in the midst of a pandemic, They worry whether they're succeeding, about productivity, about whether they're winning at sainthood. Kind of a funhouse mirror version of January 1st. We could call them pandemic resolutions. I will grow as a person. I will be more spiritual. I will learn a new language. I will knit complex sweaters or bake artisan bread the ancient way. I will finally write my novel or short story or finish my book. I will paint in the style of O'Keeffe. I will homeschool my children like they did on the prairie. I will enroll in the 21-day quarantine yoga body program, a real thing, by the way, or I'll sign up for the How to Become Ridiculously Self-Aware in 20 Minutes course, also a real thing. Spoiler alert, it's about journalism. About journaling, one of the oldest practices on earth. I believe some of this is driven by the uncertainty of this enforced new normal and the attendant fear of what will happen and how it will end, when it will end, or sadly, if it will end. It seems we're at sea about how to rewire ourselves in this crisis for a different kind of success, or at least locate a mooring of peace in the maelstrom. Pandemic or not, we are not meant to be saints. Our human fallibility, our physical vulnerability could not be more pronounced right at this moment. What might happen when we row our boats to the island of that truth and gently examine what grounds us, what rounds us, and what confounds us in all of this uncertainty? It's okay to flunk at sainthood. In fact, it's a relief. I recommend it. Jana Reiss shows us that through both the humor and the pathos embedded in her wonderfully drawn Year of Trying, she discovers that, and she discovers that learning is struggling. But precisely because of that tension, we learn. To avert the struggle is to doom the learning, the groping, the deepening. But that's not to say that it's easy. Shows on Jack Hobner in his equally witty and revealing book called Zen Confidential, Confessions of an Angry, Wayward Monk. He reminds us that life in a monastery or any situation in which spiritual growth is pursued is not meant to be easy. And that flunking monkhood, in his case, by Western standards of winning and losing, grading and ranking, is almost a certainty. He jokes, "Let me explain all of this to you when I come down from my hour of daily levitating." Not. He remembers, we all know this instinctively. The problem is that as a big me culture, the solution we offer to this suffering is a complex network of interconnected lies. Always the lie of more, work more, eat more, buy more, as opposed to one or two indispensable truths. Truths like the first noble truth of Buddhism, that life is suffering because of endless craving and typically for the wrong things, as we relentlessly pursue a life tailor-made for us. Shozan Hobner reminds us that if we are meant to grow into true human beings, we'll need to be willing to experience incidences of spiritual failure in the process. And Reiss comes to a similar conclusion at the end of her saintly adventure, after unexpectedly finding herself giving comfort to a dying father who had abandoned her and their family 26 years prior. She writes, "All those unsuccessful practices, those attempts at sainthoods that felt like a dismal failure at the time, actually took hold somehow. They helped to form me into the kind of person who could go to the bedside of somebody who had harmed me and be able to say, 'I forgive you, Dad. Go in peace.'" Although I didn't see it while I was doing the practices themselves, she says, or even while I was writing the chapters in this book, the power of spiritual practice is that it forges you stealthily while you entertain angels unaware. Shosan Hopner, he echoes this epiphany when he admits, in the end, I am really only an expert on my own screw-ups. So I have great sympathy for screw-ups like me. But screwing up really isn't the problem. It's how we feel about ourselves when we do. So I ask all of you today in this virtual sanctuary, beyond the pursuit of perfection or sainthood, what steps might you take? What still small voice might quiet your distracted, grasping monkey mind and open the path to liberating yourself from that incessant drive to not fail at life? In our reading earlier, the Reverend Jane Jepka offers a gentle rallying cry to keep our wings and ditch our halos when she reassures us that it's a help to accept the idiocy of flight. The butterfly flight pattern so firmly implanted in the human mind and heart. Let the lurching then be no surprise, and know that we're all up there flying together. Many people and situations in my own life and my ministry have provided ample opportunities to fail at being my highest self, including the realities wrought by this virus. And I am thankful in that they are helping me to become a more decent, awake, imperfect human being. Just that. Not a saint or a wise monk or a guru or an angel or a bodhisattva. My spiritual practice, my gratitude practice is not interrupted by these people. It is these people. My children, my brother, my dear congregants, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, that slow guy in front of me at the parking exit, that neighbor with the spotlight that shines in my bedroom window, my own pesky internal gremlins. You know who you are. And I hope I haven't forgotten anyone, that this is a sermon about flunking sainthood. So I'm giving myself a pass. And you should too. Blessed be, blessed we. Namaste and amen.
And now, if you'll join me in singing Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Thank you, Gabe. Every week in our sanctuary, we take an offering to support our community and our community partners. While we're apart, we're still asking for your generosity to make a contribution to the offering today. You can do that in two ways. You can go to our website where you can click on the donate application to go to Vanco and securely donate on this application to Beacon, or you can write us a check and send it to us at our Flagstaff address. And of course, we appreciate any contributions you make at any time to support the community we love. Usually at the end of our service, we come together and we hold hands, and we're not really touching people much right now because of the coronavirus. We're washing our hands and disinfecting them. But what we have been doing is imagining ourselves coming together in community and holding hands. And it's a beautiful image. So I invite you to put your hands out as if you were holding the hands of people in our community, and to just imagine yourself belonging to a group of people who care about you. As I said earlier in the service, whoever you are and whoever you love, you are welcome at Beacon. And now I invite you to say the unison benediction with me that's also printed in your order of service. Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. May we all be well and stay safe. We are Beacon, always connected. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen.